Good morning, everybody. Morning, Sarah, GH, Igor, Akbar, Businessman, Stephen, Harris. Very good to see you. Hope everything is well. Nick G, good morning. Give me one moment. I gotta log into my account, and I don't want that showing on the screen. So bear with me here. It is TJF. So what does that protocol mean? Think about that before we start the stream and what you should be anticipating from a day like today. Also make note of where we delivered into overnight and what we were looking at through the week. Seems as if that delivered perfectly. So good to see in the liquidity void. Give me 1 second. If you haven't already, if you can please like the video, that would be amazing. All right, perfect. Now I can share my screen. Good morning, Copex. I don't know how to say that name. Excuse me, Martin, Stephen, JPS, Accidental Martin. Seems like everybody's doing good. We're at 30 likes. If we can get this to 50, I would love you guys. All right, let's see what's going on in the NASDAQ. So it looks like we've delivered into the liquidity void and the volume imbalance that we've been looking at all throughout the week. Liquidity void delivered, volume imbalance, talked about this last night. This was delivered into. So liquidity void is not fully delivered. Still has partial areas of it left open, but if you go back and kind of utilize that last few days as you draw on liquidity, that is what one would kind of classify as being your terminus being delivered. So at that point, I still do believe we could possibly fill it in, but at this point, I don't really have a higher time frame draw on liquidity as much anymore. It's been delivered. So we're going to have to see how the rest of today plays out. It is Friday, and we could have TJF where, I mean, looking at this weekly candle, it's not really, that's a hard TJF to even look at because there's nothing to really retrace back into. So it's a bit of a wild week. I mean, we had a really wild week with NVIDIA and Monday and all that stuff. So is this a tradable session? We'll see what today plays out like. I mean, if nothing pans out, or if I don't like anything, then I don't place a trade. You don't have to trade Fridays. You don't have to trade anything. My best advice, especially if you're up on a week or if you're done well, take Fridays off, man. Take a 3-day, vacation. There's no reason to constantly have to be in front of the charts pushing yourself when you don't need to, because you're going to end up losing money and setting yourself back at times because you're really just trying to push environments, or you're trying to push yourself when you're mentally drained, and it's just not smart. So let's take a look at the lower time frames. Again, we haven't delivered fully into we haven't even reached even 50% of the liquidity void. So it may not even be like a TGF scenario today where we have a retracement. I don't even really see that. To make note as well, it looks like we have, this is just a wild week, man. I mean, yesterday was fun. I had a good time, but look at, we have a liquidity void. There's a lot going on in here. This is the new day opening gap. So from yesterday's close to today's open, there's another liquidity void which is sitting underneath price. Yeah. So you see where we filled it in by a little bit and then ran away from it, but it's the same thing here. So which one is it going to draw to first? I mean, to completely close it in. We could drop lower to close this in, then run higher again. We could run higher to drop lower. Yeah, it's very interesting. Very, very interesting. So we'll just stay patient. If I don't know what, this is a huge difference between yesterday and today. Like yesterday, people were asking, well, why was I so eager to get into price? Because if I can see before an open or before a session, things are already primed, they're already looking good, then I'm willing to engage with it. But right now, I don't really know what it wants to draw towards. And I've already reached my terminus on the higher time frame, really. If you look at ES, that is what you call kind of decoupled currently. Looks like my trading view is freezing. Thank you, Akbar. Yeah, please like the video, man. Please, it means a lot. So I want you to observe ES right now. If you're just watching my screen, that's okay. But for those who have different, or at least a monitor in front of them, watching ES and NQ at the open is very important, and seeing how they're trading. So what is NQ doing? NQ is printing a higher high currently, right? So that could be a possible bearish SMT between ES and NQ, because ES is failing to print a higher high. And it's also, if you look at a 5-minute time frame, within a premium imbalance. So do we see lower prices out of that because of the bearish SMT and because of the structure on ES? We'll have to see. All right, you did great content, by the way. Thank you. I think it's very underrated. That's just me. We have relative equal lows which are resting underneath price currently. And if I had to bet, the RTH gap, I was about to say Igor, why didn't you say it? You already said it, thank you. I guarantee you the RTH gap is underneath price. So we'll see if we'd want to draw down into those relative equal lows and into this RTH gap together, and possibly the liquidity void from today's opening, right? Well, we're kind of sitting in between two liquidity voids. This is quite interesting. One we haven't really filled at all, besides a little bit. And one we've completely, well, we haven't even completely filled the other one really either. So a lot going on in here today. Let's go down to a 1 minute here. So if I was to take a short, I'm just throwing this out there. And I just got a comment over this last night, which I know it's very, happens to a lot of people. If I say a bias or I'm thinking of something or I'm having ideas, it does not mean for you to take a trade based off of that. Somebody last night was saying, well, I watch your streams, but I find myself taking trades because you say something, and they weren't blaming me. It was just saying like, and I get it. I've done that with ICT, but that's the reason why you shouldn't be trading, or at least even listening to really what I'm saying as far as biases. I mean, I get it. You're on a live stream and you want to trade, but you should just be learning. At the end of the day, that's all you should really be doing. Yeah, I think 722 is very possible. I think 21,680 is possible. That's what I'm curious about. I probably gotta log in at TradeAvate. Watch the sell side amounts here. Again, I know there's a lot of things playing out, and price could trade down these relative equal lows very well. But I'm pretty strict on my time rule. Unless it's something like yesterday, but I really favored it, man. I mean, I really did. Crappy ICT. No one knows ICT except Michael. All those are crappy. Sure. So do I use this to log in? So again, my rules are really based off of a lot of experience as far as, I mean, this could work most definitely and fade off in the lows. I'm so damn weary of price, man. Before the macro. Incorrect username. Sorry, I got my live account yesterday, but I'm ABC here. When I try to click this non-tradable symbol, that means I got to go into TradingView or TradeAvate and fix something, and I don't understand. There we go. Some people would short that. Zahid, yeah, they would. I mean, it's a fine model. It's just time, man. Time's very important to me. I mean, can I explain why that's not gonna work? Why it didn't work? No, more or less time. That's why I'm very heavy on telling you guys waiting till the macro or waiting till silver bullet. I don't. A lot of the shit that you see doesn't work until the silver bullet or the macro. I've been stopped out so many times trying to short within the first 20 minutes of it. Why is it not working, Zahid? I don't know. I mean, it's a fine model. It's a fine framework. Time is very important. That's why it's always time then price, right? Time is the most important. So nothing's going to work until time is placed. Though I'm not super eager. I mean, there was a difference yesterday. I think I entered in at 942, 943, which is pretty rare for me. But it's like right about like right now. I entered in yesterday. And that's because I was heavily favoring, like really, really heavy. Like, and that's just off of experience and what I know. Like in here, I don't really know as well as far as like what price wants to really draw towards. I mean, we still have a open liquidity void above us here. Yes, do we have relative equal lows? That's fine. We have an opening range gap we could run into. We have, sell side from overnight. We have a liquidity void from yesterday as well. So it's kind of a 50-50 shot. I don't really know. There is a structure, a framework to a model, but I don't really trust it that much. I don't really know if it really wants to do that. And the time really isn't there. So I'm just chilling. I may have to stop sharing my screen for like 1.5 seconds. I gotta probably log into my account again. Give me 1 second. All right, there we go. You can't trade the symbol in. All right, this is So anybody else know why else Trade08 would be doing that? Like, I logged in, I signed the things. What do you think about the 950 to 1010 macro? It's a time and place where price can spool or move. That's a good area to wait for price, especially off the beginning of the open. Because I don't have market data. Alex, thank you. Yeah, dude, I don't know. I don't know why I can't trade this account. I mean, I signed everything. Everything's fine. You can't trade the symbol. It's interesting. Anyways, I don't want to kind of keep away. I mean, I really want to trade my live account. That would be fantastic. Hello, CJ. Marius, what's up, brother? Huh. I don't know. I guess I gotta email my guy. Sorry, I mean, I just got my credentials yesterday to the actual live account, so I don't know what's going on here. Yeah, I clicked it on. I mean, everything's. I mean, I've been through the process of TradeAway like hundreds of times. I don't know. But we'll just observe price in here. So we dropped down into this sell side imbalance. We treated that as an inversion. We have this down close candle, which would be your bullish order block here. We're starting to expand away from it. If we head higher, where would price want to seek? Well, we do have the remaining portion from this high we printed up to the end of that liquidity void that's still open. So it's just the question of whether or not we're going to run for that today and fill that in. They could get really nasty in here. I mean, you know, I'm just throwing scenarios out there. I don't feel confident in much right now. We could take this buy side, and then you see a dump lower into the relative equal lows underneath price. With these relative equal lows sitting underneath me, the opening range gap sitting underneath me, and the liquidity void from today sitting underneath me, I feel very uneasy trying to press inside of this liquidity void. Could we fill in the rest of it? Sure. But with that underneath me, I feel very unconfident. If this is where trading is different on different days, if price dropped down, took the sell side, and then we rallied higher off of the open, then I would be confident in looking at the closure of the liquidity void. But since that's resting underneath me, I don't feel very confident in doing that. I would rather just wait. And if it doesn't do anything, if it just keeps rallying higher, it is what it is. I'm not going to go with it. I'm probably only going to favor shorts with what we have underneath us. It's just where I'm at. And as far as not taking this sell side imbalance here, it's just based off of time. Time is first. So I promise you, your trading will go up a lot if you just stop trading the first 20 minutes of the open. Even the first 30 minutes, waiting for the silver bullet. As you get more experienced, of course, you can throw your discretionary, meaning your experience and intuition in. And like yesterday, where I see a framework that's solid enough to take it, you know, basically within the first 20 minutes. That's not being hypocritical. It's just saying that's based off of my experience and when I'm willing to take that risk to do it. But it's, you know, far and in between when I do it. Also to kind of support the idea of like not trying to long this as well, we also have SMT at the high here still, and ES is still kind of trading lower. So, and if we don't take these highs here, I won't short this either. Comprende? First presented FEG is there as well. There's about 196 of you guys in here. If you could like the video, I'd really appreciate it, man. Seriously, it really helps. Like, the engagement on my videos is crazy when the likes go up. And if you didn't already, check out the video from last night. I mean, if you want an insight into my mind as far as models, I know people ask me all the time, and how do I trade personally? Yesterday was a really good example, really spot on example. Ebar Rio, thanks for doing the live stream, of course. That's interesting. Why won't take it if it doesn't? Why won't I take it? I mean, if there was a really heavy displacement and there was a really clean model and I could see ES really trading lower, I might in the lower quadrants. But something like that where I have liquidity above me, especially when I'm not really clear on the bias. I mean, we have the still opening of this liquidity void above us, and same with beneath us. It's kind of 50-50 shot. I know what you mean, Fly, though. I mean, in some certain situations, yes, that's okay. Where you're already taking a major buy side liquidity pool, and if there's a minor buy side with SMT, it can leave it. But most of the time, I'd rather not have relative equal highs above me if I'm trying to short it. That's just preferable. We drop down into this bull shorter block here. Oh, I gotta email this dude. What does this button say when I click it? Non-tradable symbol. If you're watching price, I'd just watch the CE of the liquidity void, which we just got above. Sorry, I'm sending an email. Took the same trade yesterday and wasn't even on the stream. Fantastic. That's generally what I like to hear. Well, I don't care you guys see account balance or anything like that. I just need to log out of that because it's not going to be any use for me today. Well, let me take a look at the higher time frame, see where we're at and how the hourly is trading. It looks like today, based off of what I'm getting, we're probably going to fill in the remaining portion of this liquidity void. We're probably going to leave that relative equal lows until that's filled, if I had to be honest. Just the way price is trading and moving, we may want to just keep pressing into the higher portions, the higher quadrants of that. And especially with a large liquidity void like this, you want to start splitting these into quadrants. So with a large liquidity void like this, you do this at first. From the discount to the premium end of it, 50% is right here. You have 25%, 75% of it, and then you even can split it again from the 50% all the way up to this portion. So then 50% of that higher upper quadrant is right there. What does that give you? Well, it gives you sensitive levels within that liquidity void. Nick G, yeah, that's why I turned the stream. Well, I put the disclaimer on because I logged out of TradeAvate and then logged back in. And it still, I don't know, wasn't working. Because I've been through the TradeAvate thing 100 times where you got to log into TradeAvate, agree to terms and conditions, log out of TradingView, log back in. But this time it didn't work. Yeah. The way ES as well is not really willing to trade higher. That's going to give you some indication. If you were to say, let's look at this model in here. This could be a model from this dealing range low to high. You have a buy side imbalance with these two down close candles. Now, the reason I would say that's probably lower probability is because ES is failing to make the higher high, which is another SMT there, and it's failing to run as high as what NQ is doing. So, yes, yeah, I'm going to pronounce your name. I'm just going to call you Rio. We could leave the upper portion of this last 25% open. It's just a lot of uncertainty in here. I mean, with these sitting underneath me and this opening range gap underneath me, it's going to be difficult for me to want along this. I guess I'll just log into paper trading. There's going to be a lot of times as well where you see models clear, but they're just models. Like, to have a solid framework around it as to why it should work is very important. It's more important than the model. And again, I'm always like a judge in a court case. I'm looking at both sides of evidence. Why should this work? Why should this not work? Why wouldn't this work? And if this ends up working, we trade to the upper quadrant of the liquidity void. I mean, it is what it is. That's an example of immediate rebalance here. Closure, open, drops down into the high of the previous candle. So there's no inefficiency or anything like that. Just immediate rebalances it. Let's take a look at this 15-second here. I'm going to have to take this away. So if I can, I want to showcase like a last 25% run into something. Because with this new higher high being printed, that really is proving me we're going to close in the remaining portion of this liquidity void. It's like, oh, I missed this model here. Might have. I mean, I'm sure some people took it, but there might be another one that forms. There might be an inefficiency that forms here. We drop down into it. ES would be a good example of like a six sister example. Like since NQ is way higher, if you wanted to trade ES since it's a little bit lower, you could trade ES with the idea that it's going to trade as high as NQ eventually. I mean, at this point, we may just keep trading off into the upper end of that liquidity void there. Once we close in that liquidity void, it's a good question as far as where price would want to go. We do, if you go scroll out to your higher time frames, we do have relative equal highs, like way at 22, 120-ish. So ES just made the higher high that NQ made a while ago. So it's lagging quite far behind NQ. And that's what I mean by a six sister approach. I mean, you could, if you look at your 1 minute on ES. Yep, we just filled in the liquidity void basically to the tick there. So if you reach a terminus, you reach something that is logically a draw on liquidity, something you had in mind and it reached into it. To me, that's where you either have to reassess as far as where price wants to go, or you sit still and you don't do anything. So from here, you have to determine, well, since we filled in the liquidity void, where would price want to go from here? If this was a different time of week or different day of the week, I would suggest even higher prices from here. But because it is Friday, I don't know how far we'd like to expand it. We're going to close out the week extremely bullish. Do we have a retracement kind of back into the weekly range? There are some questions to be had. TGF system revolution, yes. I mean, TGF is not a guaranteed thing. You can't place it all the time on Fridays. I see a lot of people get burnt sometimes on it. It's not 100% guaranteed. You need a framework to really work it. Looks like there's about 200 of you guys in here. If you could like the video, I would appreciate it, man. Let's take a look at ES real quick. Looks like ES just filled in its liquidity void basically perfectly as well. So my idea for the rest of the day and the rest of the session is kind of determining, well, do we fall back into this range? And do we possibly run back to these relative equal lows? That's really bold prediction. Or do we have just a continuation to kind of finish out the rest of the day and the week? Jafar, what's up, brother? Noon. Respect to you for displaying true discipline in your trading on stream. No hype, just BS. I appreciate it, brother. Yeah, I mean, you could look at this bullish side and be like, the only point in time that I could really determine that if price was really going to be willing to trade higher was probably at this point in this model that I outlined. And even at this point, I said we could possibly drop lower from here. Does that mean I'm stupid or I'm wrong for not taking it? No. Even if you took it, I don't think it's wrong. Again, I just think that the framework behind it is not the greatest, so I'm a little bit more hesitant. Now, again, if I see some type of evidence where we'd possibly want to drop lower today and target those relative equal lows, I may be willing to do so. I think a lot of your guys' fears of missing out and staying disciplined, it's a lack of experience, and it's not to be mean, it's just the truth. But if you have confidence in knowing that, there's an abundance of opportunities within these markets and in one single trading session, and even within these concepts, man, like, who knows? This whole thing could drop lower and tag these relative equal lows, and you end up trading that entire leg down. And while you're pissed off about, well, I could have traded this higher, this whole thing, you could have a whole opportunity to trade this lower. So if you just stay composed and know that there's an abundance of opportunities, abundance of things and tools that we have in our arsenal, there's no reason to ever fear missing things. Closing of the void also coincided with the first FEG from January 23rd. Something cool. Yeah, it's actually very cool. What would make me want to short this? Well, I would need to start seeing a collapse underneath these buy-side imbalances and start seeing displacements lower. I mean, it would take a whole lot. Otherwise, you're just trying to pick a top and you're trying to push a framework on something that's not there. This thing could just keep running higher the rest of the day. I don't know. That's why you have to wait for time. You have to wait for price to prove itself to you. Then you engage with it. And at this point, as far as bullish models, I mean, I've already completed my terminus. So I completed as far as I could see price going higher, which was the top of this liquidity void. We filled it. It's done. So if it keeps going on beyond that, then it's going beyond my targets. And I don't know where price would try to go. I could try to build something, but it's not probable for me. We could take this away. Run above this buy side liquidity. Pay attention to the 5 minute if we never close above liquidity void. Call me crazy, but I do believe eventually we will run back down to these lows today. As Accidental would say in the chat, uber suspect right here. This trendline phantom is very suspect. What would be like a really good pattern here? What would this be? That would be a breaker. So I'm gonna forecast ahead of time if it gets underneath this down close candle, that could potentially be a bearish breaker. Could be. Doesn't mean it will be. It could. If it doesn't, then that is what it is. There's a lot of 15-minute buy-side imbalances overcome when the run lower be high resistance. Not necessarily. You could trade right through those. I mean, just depends on the narrative and what price you're trying to seek. Have you taken any trades this week? Yes, I have. Go to yesterday's stream or last night's video. Quick question, bro. Would you say your model is mechanical or discretionary by technical? Both. I think It incorporates both for sure. I mean, it is mechanical. I can logically explain it. But models are never going to be 100% the same every single time. And that's why I have a few different ones that I utilize, and because there's different conditions for different days. And there's different confluences that happen every single day. I mean, some days there's SMT, some days there's this, some days, there's different things that surround the framework. I would say it's probably 75% mechanical, 25% discretionary, if I had to answer your question. Because there's also, a lot of this is just time and experience sitting with these concepts, sitting with these charts. I mean, I've been doing this for 7 years, so, system, in the end of the day, it is discretionary to a certain extent because I'm not an AI robot that just follows something. So, I mean, it is a human, subjective observation. Is it heat? No, I'm not. That may be a surprise. Exactly what an AI would say. I mean, the only thing I'm really standing on is shorts. As far as longs, I'm not going to keep pushing that. I'm just waiting for confirmation if there even is going to be a short by making this a potential breaker. Otherwise, I'm just forcing an idea. I'm not going to do that. But all I'm observing in here is how we're failing to close above the liquidity void top end of it. We could close above it and just rally higher. That's fine. I mean, I would just let that idea go. I mean, if we close above this liquidity void, to me, it's kind of done as far as shorts, and I don't want to keep pushing longs. So that's where I just kind of call it a week, and that's it. It was a good week for me. I don't need to throw my money away and set it on fire just because I need more money. So we're starting to see that displacement lower here. Remember, this would turn into a bearish breaker if we close beneath it. That's why breakers are very good points to be waiting for. I mean, they're a good confirmation of a shift in delivery. AMD model, sir. Are you talking about like the run here to run lower? Yep. Let's throw this in there. Midnight opens way down here. Same with 8:30 open, so we're really in a high premium. So it does favor shorts. Again, that's the reason why I'm looking at that as well, and I haven't really been favoring upside today. Which again, just because you're above those doesn't mean, or you're in a premium doesn't mean it's 100% going to be a short. But it can't help. I've been having success with inversion for value gaps recently. Nice. Yeah, you all find your own PD array that you really like. I mean, I can work with any of them, but I love fair value gaps. I think that's the easiest one to work with, and it's just picking the right ones with the right framework and the right time to have success with them. I mean, of course, any of them are going to fail. If you're not picking the right side, not picking the right framework, the right narrative, any of ICT's PD arrays will fail. That's why people either think they don't work or they, whatever it may be. Zahid, yeah, he says, I love order blocks, but I don't use them. And that's the same with me. Like, obviously I know what breakers are, order blocks. I know every single PD array, but do I utilize them for entry patterns? Not necessarily. I love fair value gaps. There's times that I do, but most of the time it's always a fair value gap. So we're just working the top end of this liquidity void. That's all we're really doing in here. And we drop down inside of this inefficiency here. And this isn't a breaker yet. It's technically an order block. So rejection block, very good. Accidental. So this down close candle here is your rejection block. You take out the body and you extend it out in time. Even the 50% of the wick, that would be your rejection block. Rejection blocks are very difficult for me to learn, and I still don't utilize them as much as I probably should. But they are a difficult PD array to learn. Okay, very good. ES made a higher high in here above this high. ES made a higher high while NQ failed to make it. So what is that telling us? Well, that is a bearish SMT there, and we're suggesting that we might see lower prices out of this. So that right there is a good point, especially because ES is the weaker one and it made the higher high. Does that mean it's 100% going to short? No, but this is what reading and observing in real time, different data that's coming in, you have to read it and see what it's suggesting. If we trade above this high, I mean, I'm probably going to log off. There isn't anything else for me to do today. But if we collapse lower, we break beneath this low in here, turn that into a bearish breaker, then I'm going to be potentially looking for shorts. ES has some relative equal lows at like 61, 116 or 61.16. And just observe on the 1 minute how we're just riding the top end of this liquidity void. We're not closing above it, and we're just utilizing it like a barrier. Look at the 5 minute where the bodies are stopping. Yeah, it's just patience. I mean, you could try to force an idea in here, but Here's the human mind is, if this thing drops lower, you're going to be like, well, I should have shorted them there. I knew it was going to go lower. You didn't know that. That's the whole fear of missing out, is overconfidence, because you believe in your mind, even in mine, 100% it's going to go there. It's 100% going to do this. You have to humble yourself. So you don't know that. You don't know that. I'm suggesting that it might, but I have to look for that and see the confirmation. What would be the confirmation? Well, logically, turning this into a bearish breaker and a shift to market structure here would show me that there's some type of turn going to happen. But currently where we're at, that it's not true. So if you're trying to take a short up here because you're trying to push it, and then you end up getting stopped out, well, obviously you didn't wait for enough confirmation. And if it works out, I mean, sure, that's great, but that's not logically, to me, following a good amount of rules. If you're just tuning in, I appreciate it if you like the video. What do you guys think about me creating a public Discord? Thought about this over the week. I might do it. Man, I have such a hard time posting on Twitter, but I'm very active, like within other chats and things at times. I just have a problem with Twitter, man. I don't know. It's just a terrible place. Do you value? Oh, fuck. Yeah. I mean, I'm not big enough yet to where I feel like, I mean, I was getting a lot of hate last year, but I was actually a lot bigger. I don't think I'm big enough just yet to have a bunch of, I mean, I'll probably get a bunch of weird people in there. Yeah, I would need some Discord mods and stuff. I don't know, it was something I was thinking about. I like building communities. I like having, I mean, I have a lot of you guys in here, you know who you are. That I generally like these people. I mean, there's some people that are from public that I generally, in here, I like chatting with. Somebody said, what does time distortion stand for? Time distortion is, I would have to demonstrate it, but what does it mean by charter? Charter member is ICT's private group, like 4 or 5 years ago. I just put it on there just for shits and giggles. Meaning I have more experience and knowledge than probably most people on here. At least on YouTube who live stream. Again, this is what I mean by, if you're trying to force a short, it's not smart. So, I mean, from here, I don't know. I would probably just not do a whole lot. Yeah, long isn't smart either. So it's like you do nothing. I haven't done anything. Which prop firm you use? My Funded Futures. It's on the screen. Sarah, amazing to hear. Trading is a lonely business. Only other traders understand the struggles. Community is super helpful, but trolls. Exactly. That's why I like communities, because they can very, very much help other people who are struggling or just finding like-minded people. I mean, I'll sit and observe all this, but I mean, from here, I'm not going to be doing much. Curious on this 1 hour close. How about Apex? I don't trust them, but that's just me. Dark Ghost took 12 losses this month. Will never trade again. Dark Ghost, yeah. I mean, the last couple of weeks were very difficult for me as well. I mean, it's typical January. Cameron Trading, glad to see you back, CJ. Used to watch your daily reviews. Awesome to hear, my man. Thank you. Glad to be back. You only trade with one prop firm so far. Yeah, I mean, last probably 6 months I've completed a live account with them, so I'm very happy to have that. I don't have to jump through hoops and ropes and all that to get payouts. I can get a payout any day I want. I don't have no trailing drawdown. I got nothing. Again, when you look at social media, man, it is so toxic. I mean, I see a lot of people on there, even with that they're experienced, but man, I mean, they just sigh up people into like, I mean, I like Jade Cap, but Jade Cap, I mean, a lot of this Apex shit, man, I'm just gonna be honest. A lot of this Apex shit is so used for marketing. Like, people just throw these $300,000 days out, these $100,000 days out, but they're not getting paid this out. At least they're not going to get paid out that much right away, even if they keep going with it. And to do that is almost gambling. It is gambling. I'm not going to sugar. It's gambling. What they're doing is gambling. They're getting lucky. Are they experienced? Do they know what they're doing? Sure. They probably have a large bankroll where they're not showing you how many accounts they've blown to get to that. Take it slow, man. I mean, I feel like I'm the only one who's actually sane in this industry, to be honest with you, at times, because I'm building things slowly, and I'm looking at it through a perspective of all I want is a live account, and that's what I got achieved through my funded futures, which is 15,000, and I can build that, but I'm also just using it to simply pay bills or put into my bank account and build towards a larger bankroll eventually. A lot of these prop firms, I mean, they're good, but they're not an end-all be-all, man. You can't look at that as your final destination. If you really want to do this for a career, man, build a live account. Build your own personal live account. I mean, some other people have different perspectives, but I mean, I would say 90% of the trading community will never do what some people are doing on these Apex things and all that. It's all gambling, dude. And you're going to end up blowing so much money and never make progress trying to do it. But that's just my personal opinion. I mean, that's just me. And yeah, even if you get paid out from Apex, good luck. I mean, Top Step is great. My funded futures are great. Those are only two prop firms I trust. I've been paid out from both. So does my funded futures offer live accounts for everyone? I mean, yeah, but it depends on the account size you use. I mean, for me, I had to complete 30 $300 days. It took me 6 months to do it. And that's why people ask, about consistent profitability. I mean, I would like to see anybody else do that in the industry. I mean, I know there's, as far as influencers, I know Mantis, you did it. It was good shit. It's a very hard task to complete. As far as technically, I mean, this thing just keeps trading higher. You just let it go. I'm not going to be trading this higher. What about the Justin guy? I think I know you're talking about. I mean, I don't know, dude. All I suggest is if they don't live trade in front of you, I mean, I've done this for over a year now, live traded in front of an audience every single day, like every day. If they don't do that, then, I mean, if you can't watch them for, I mean, at least give them time, at least 3 months to see what they're about. But, I mean, I just wouldn't trust it. This industry, you would not believe how many snakes and people that want to fuck you over just for money. Like, it's very easy to fake withdrawals, very easy to fake profits, very easy to fake executions. It's very easy to fake a lot of things. I mean, I can't fake any of the things I do here. I mean, you either see it or you don't. I mean, that's it. That's why I decided to do it. It's just gotten worse over the years within this community because ICT's got more popular. I mean, it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. How about Romeo? Well, let me tell you, he executes on an MT4. Do you know how easy it is to fake MT4 screenshots? Unless you see somebody trade live in front of you, sit down in a session like I'm doing. I mean, why? If you're that good, you claim to be that good, why don't you sit in a live audience to do it? I mean, it's not that damn difficult. I do it every single day. Like, you're this god at trading. Okay, we'll just sit in a live environment and do it. It's not rocket science. But yet they don't do it. Why? I don't know. Because they're not profitable. I don't know. I mean, that dude's probably made millions off of whatever bullshit he's pushing. I think ICT offered him $1 million or something to do a live stream, and he didn't take it. Bro, if somebody offered me $1 million a live stream, I mean, should I already do it for free? But fuck me, man, I would do that every $1 million. What are we talking about here? To live stream how I trade, like, that's, if you actually know what you're talking about, that's easy. It's easy money. But anyways, y'all give me a rant about people in this industry. Let's look at the hourly time frame. Let's kind of zoom out here. So the daily time frame here. Let's see where we're at. If this was a different day, then I would keep pushing the long idea for the rest of the day into these relative equal highs potentially for the rest of the week. But we're on a Friday, so I'm thinking about time. We don't have a whole lot of time left. Usually Power 3 plays out by the end of the week, meaning TGF, where you kind of get sucked back into the range. So you have to think about the weekly candle. We may come back into the range, we may not. And all this on lower time frames may just be like a wick over. Like, this hourly candle may not close above the liquidity void. May fall back into the range eventually. So we'll just sit here and see what price is doing. Got about 10 minutes until the macro. I'd like to see what that does. Either trade live on YouTube / Discord and back it up, or you're quiet, keep it yourself and cash in. Exactly. I mean, I love teaching, to be honest with you. I really do love it. I mean, at times I wish I just would go quiet and not talk to anybody and trade, but I do love teaching, man. It is fulfilling to a certain extent. Especially when you see people say, like, you know, you're the reason why. And it's never me. I never try to take it as myself. It's always the person. I mean, you have to put in the work to even understand this, but when somebody says, you know, you helped them, it's a really great feeling. So let's take a look here. And even though we closed above on a 5-minute, you have to look at like a 15-minute. Now we're hopping out to this. Will we close above it? Probably not. Hourly, probably not. So we'll see if this if we fall back in the range. And the only thing I'd be looking at, even if we do short it, is probably even 50% of this liquidity void. I wouldn't even be aiming towards these lows unless it got really volatile. It's been helping my live PA reading for sure. Backtesting CNN is one thing, doing it live. Yes, sir. What time frame do you normally trade on? 1 minute, but I use every single time frame. So we got about, let's look at 1050 is about 7 minutes or so away from us. Relative equal lows resting here within that buy side imbalance. This may be a breakaway. If this thing really wants to tear off lower, this would become a breakaway. Could be a potential 2022 model. Again, this would be like a point where I could see a framework to lower prices, yes. But is it, you're trying to pick the top of something. And it's an issue that I had for many years, and I see with a lot of people, is they're always trying to pick the tops or the bottoms of moves. And it's like, yes, is it great when it works out like that? Yes. But if you would just let price prove itself to you and you pick off even, you know, the last 50%, the last 25% of the move into a drawn liquidity, you're probably going to have a much higher success rate. Meaning, let this thing drop lower. Let it drop lower. Let it prove itself that it really wants lower prices. What, CJ, it took buy side and you know, there's a sell side imbalance and we're coming to the macro. I'm sorry I missed the top. Well, then it is what it is. I mean, if we were to head lower, you're going to be aiming at these relative equal lows. You're going to be aiming at this buy side imbalance. You're going to be aiming at the imbalance down here. You're going to be aiming all the way down here potentially. So you have all this room to pick off a short. So letting it prove itself to you is going to be a much higher success rate. So you see how we left this? That's a good sign of potential lower prices. Because it's leaving a breakaway gap, meaning it's potentially wants some speed and volatility. But we're not there yet. We need to break underneath this buy side imbalance and probably treat it into an inversion. If it doesn't close beneath that, then it's not a valid short yet. What are the different trading models you use for different market conditions? Amy, I think I remember your name. I think you were here last year. Excuse me. Man, it's such a loaded question. I have probably about 3 different models that I utilize, but they all kind of sometimes have different characteristics or different confluences depending on what I'm using. One is really the 2022 model. Another is a continuation model. Another one is like a version of the 2022 model, but it's internal raids. I got hung up on models as well in my beginning years. I mean, the framework is the most important. To understand why the model should work, firstly, is the most important. First step to any model is identifying a drawn liquidity. Saying, okay, well, I think price is going to, let's say, for example, we're going to go to these relative equal lows, right? Let's say just a framework to a model. I want to see these relative equal lows be traded to. Okay, well, why should I do that? What is the evidence as to why price should do that? And then you need to ask, okay, well, what would be the opposing evidence as to why it wouldn't? And if there isn't a whole lot of opposing evidence, then you say, okay, well, I have all this evidence pointing to the idea that it should go to here. And then I see a model printing, and the model shows its hand to me, and I can look at the other side and say, well, there isn't much evidence as to why it shouldn't work. Is the risk to reward there? Then you take it, right? It's always the why should price go to something. And then I always have taught to look at the other side. And it's not to confuse you or to look at the other side and be fearful of it, but to understand, okay, well, if I'm sitting in a court case, I need to look at both sides and say, well, what's the evidence for this and what's the evidence for the other side? And there's going to be times where you can't even argue the other side, and it's like, well, it's just one-sided, man, and I have to take this trade because that's what the logic in the model states. Jeff, exactly. It could be. That's why I wouldn't even, if it gets into the sell side and bounce, I wouldn't even be shorting it here because this is, to me, even though it is a potential short model, it is, I'm trying to pick a top. So I'm also understanding where we're at. I'm trying to pick a top in here in a very bullish market. And we haven't closed beneath this buy side and bounce. So yes, the opposing idea is very good. We could drop into this imbalance and we could just run higher. To me, that's, again, I'm trying to pick a top in here. That's not a good idea. To let this thing react off the sell side imbalance, drop lower, get beneath this buy side imbalance, and if there's something down here where we could make a run to the relative equal lows, that's more high probability to me. See, we closed above that. I mean, we could utilize this order blocked, but that's basically the last line of defense there if I was going to look for lower prices. Looks like we just got into the macro at this minute. I mean, Jeff, I already gave up higher prices. We're already too deep in a premium, and I've already completed my bullish terminus, which was the closure of this liquidity void. So anything beyond that, I don't want to trade it higher. So I just sit, I'm waiting for time. If it shows me its hand for lower prices, I mean, if we made another run higher here, then that's completely off the table because at that point, it's too high. It's too far away from any objectives as far as lower. I'm also, again, I'm using multiple time frame analysis. I'm looking at this 15-minute. We never closed above the liquidity void. And we still have about 8 minutes left, so we may not close above that. And again, looking at the hourly. If we don't close above that liquidity void, that's still a good sign for lower prices. But if I see the 15-minute close above it, the hourly close above it, that's where I'm like, okay, well, it's clearly not going to seek any lower prices today, so I'm done. I'm being very patient in here. I mean, I'm avoiding a lot of losses, trying to pick a top. I mean, I could have been trying to pick a top in here just because I was trying to suggest that idea or push it, even in here. Especially when you have an idea. You have to wait for the evidence. You can't just push the idea on it. You're going to encounter a lot of losses. And as far as like, well, I could have went long in here. Well, I don't favor that at all, and I'm not going to do it. That to me is drawing a line in the sand and saying, look, I'm going to stand right here on this analysis, and I'm only standing on this side of the line, and I'm only going to look for shorts, and if it doesn't come into fruition, doesn't show me its hand, then I'm not going to do anything else. You have to have some type of standards and something, man. You can't just flip-flop every 2 seconds. Well, it's long, now it's short. Now it's long, then it's short. Then no, dude. If you aren't a part of a move, then it is what it is. So that completely invalidated any short idea today, right there. I mean, a closure, something stabbing above that. Not that I took any losses, it's just as far as reading lower prices, I mean, that's it. So I'm fine with that. I'm happy with the week so far. Price keeps going off into the moon. I really couldn't give a shit. So I think it's going to be it for this week. It was an interesting week, I should say, the least. I mean, with NVIDIA, the way we dropped and the way we've rallied back towards that and closed in the liquidity void, it's very interesting. So I think that's going to be it. Yeah, so it's very important, JH. Those are things that you have to personally make. He said, got to count it as a win for not taking any trade. Yes. You have to make that a note in your journal and cheerlead yourself and make sure you're saying the right things to yourself. As my old group knows, there's a very famous thing called the CJ signal. As soon as I get off of the stream, it starts to do things. So I may just give it 1 sec. I just want to see it. We'll give it to 11 o'clock. Fly, have a good weekend as well, my man. DL, wise words. Thank you. Market makers are watching me. No, I usually log off, usually right around the macro. That's usually why a lot of things end up happening when I get off. Which, it's not always good things. I'm just saying the market moves. It's funny. We wait 5 minutes. If we make a new high in here, then yeah. Let me see. Dude, I think my channel is like, what do they call that? Blacklisted. Because how the hell did 242 videos on this video last night, and that video teaches more than 90% of what people put on this damn YouTube shit. It's crazy. It's really cool to listen to somebody while you trade. Nice, Alberto. Okay, with that higher high, there's nothing that's going to happen lower. So, yeah, that's going to be it. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Be safe. We'll be back here on Sunday for the weekly forecast. So, till then, peace out.